He thought he'd done nothing special. He sat down in a TV audience, not knowing the people around him owed their lives to him. The TV moment that changed everything. Join me for the second of 4 episodes that relates the true story of how Nicholas Winton's heroic story made TV history on That's Life. Yeah, because That's Life at that time, as you said, you had 16 million
Yeah, at
viewings.
least could have been more. Could have been 22 million. I mean,
And,
it was.
and one of the notable things was a dog that said sausages.
It doesn't hurt him at all.
No, next thing he went on to sausages.
Why shouldn't he do sausages?
Well, George next door gives him sausages, you know, he comes out every Thursday with a plate of sausages, you know, and puts them on back doorstep, and Prince goes and has a good tucking.
Tell us what you have on a Thursday, Prince.
Yeah, what's George give you, Prince? A what?
Which of course is very unfair. So
Very
that,
unfair.
let me explain. That's Life had a formula. What she took. So if you go back to the beginnings of the BBC and Lord Reith, Lord Reith defined television as being information, entertainment, and education. And she took those three tenets into a show. That was the Lord Reith idea that the viewer should go away happy. And she took it in a similar way.
Yeah.
So she'd start off with a stupid vox pop, if you remember.
Yes, out in the streets. Yeah.
Or three-legged tights or something out in the street. It was called a vox pop. Vox pop means the voice of the people.
People, yeah.
Right. And then she'd go into some really stupid council law about wheelie bins. And then she'd hit you with a hard story. But what the format did was that you always remembered the hard story.
Yeah.
And Esther and the team of That's Life, but Esther driven, changed more laws in this country and started more laws, charities, than any other parliamentarian.
The
Right?
interesting thing there is, of course, that ultimately it was the forerunner of every consumer program that we now see.
What we were about was consumerism. And that, so it was in a way, product-based, service-based, villain-based. So to do a story about a war hero was very unusual.
Yeah.
Now, I was still, at that time, I was her assistant. I was not allowed in production. I mean, it was really tough. There was a very, very solid line between administration and journalism. And so once the phone call came through from Robert Maxwell, I had to hand it over. I had no say in it. And the next thing I know is maybe a few weeks, there were two main players that were involved at this stage. One was Katinka Blackford, who is actually mentioned in
the film. Yes, I remember that.
She was the main researcher, fabulous girl, now leading light in anti-depression tablets. People have gone on to do great things from That's Life.
Yeah.
And the other one was Richard Woolfe, who not only became senior producer, became head of Sky Arts 1, 2, and 3, and legendary in his own right.
And of course, a very close friend of yours.
A very, very close friend. But we were a family.
Yeah.
Whether That's Life family, and in fact, we're called ex-lifers, and there's hundreds of us. But so I wasn't allowed in whatever they were doing, except for came in one morning and Esther said, I've got a really important job for you to do on the programme on Sunday. She said, I need you to look after Nicholas Winton. And I said, why? What's happening? And so she said, we're doing a programme about the amazing job he did in saving these children. So I said, okay, so you want me to look after him in the green room? No, she said, I want him nowhere near the studio. He is not to come anywhere near. She said, you can take him out for lunch, or you can, he'll be there from the afternoon. And the only thing when you bring him back, you bring him into makeup. Now, in the film, it says that the studio was television centre. Well, actually, it wasn't. it was actually the Shepherd's Bush Theatre.
Right.
That life was filmed in the Shepherd's Bush Theatre.
Right.
The old Shepherd's Bush Theatre.
Yeah.
And afterwards, after every programme, we used to go across the road to a wonderful pizza place and called the Filling Station, which was full of old...
I remember that.
Do you remember that? With old
Yes.
memorabilia from garages. And
Yeah.
that was run by the Kay brothers, who were the beginning of Ask. It's that whole chain. They started with the one pizza in Shepherd's Bush. Anyway, so we had very fond memories of there. And so I took him out. And,
What was the pretext, Pam? What was the pretext that he was going to come to the studio? Because he didn't know.
I think they must have said it was about... I think they told him that it was about what he did during the war. But he was very, very surprised. He said, "I've got no idea why they want to do this. I mean, I did what anybody would have done." Nobody knew about Schindler then, by the way.
That's right, of course. And I suppose you can say that Nicholas Winton was like a bit of a Schindler.
Yes, but the family get very upset with that, and so do the survivors, because they say Schindler saved Jews, but Jews worked for him. So he, in a way, profited, not in a bad way, because he was saving them, because that's what he could give to them. But Nicholas Winton didn't profit at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is a savior. It's like Raoul Wallenberg. It's, there's so many of them. The family that hid Anne Frank. There were some wonderful righteous Gentiles that I'll come on to in a minute. So he knew it was something, but he couldn't understand. And I think that the one line that stays with me is he said anybody would have done it if they'd seen the situation. I said, people don't do that. People don't do what you've done. And he was like everybody's grandpa.
Yeah.
I can't explain. He was this cuddly man. He was quite round. And I mean,
very self-effacing.
Yeah, if you'd asked me, I would have said he was absolutely Jewish from looking at him. He was terribly well spoken. He talked a lot about, if I remember, he was always involved in charity, which the film shows, the Samaritans, the Rotary Club. And, I took him into makeup. He said, he was completely confused by all of it. And in the first episode that he appears, he is sitting next to the one girl that is featured in the film, where she says she likes to swim, and he said, "I like to swim as well." And she is sitting next to him, and I don't even think his wife came with. And
all the letters. But back here is the list of all the children. This is Vera Diamant, now Vera Gissing. We did find her name on his list. Vera Gissing is with us here tonight. Hello, Vera. And I should tell you that you are actually sitting next to Nicholas Winton.
And it was just so wonderful, so terribly, terribly touching.
And so in between time, Katinka, Blackford, and probably a couple of others on the programme, Richard, they are researching all the backgrounds of these people, where they went to. And in the second episode, it is one of the most watched pieces of film on YouTube.
And beautifully done in the film One Life. It really was very impactful.
Exactly how it happened. The green room was rammed, absolutely rammed. We were told beforehand we couldn't have any guests, no family members. The whole of the Shepherd's Bush Theatre was filled with children he'd saved. So
let's build that tension, that drama. So he doesn't know.
Cry.
Say that again.
I might cry.
Well, we both might cry. So he had no idea what he was stepping into. So
No,
he
he
was
was
kept
now
separate.
sitting next to Vera again, and his
Right.
wife was next to him. And then there was the other boy, I can't remember his name, who he in the film he became very close to. And it was
So
well, it
that
was
immortal line, he's sitting amongst
yeah,
what
he's
he
just
doesn't realize are
yeah.
these kids and the offspring of those people
No,
that he
not the
saved.
offspring.
Just the
I
kids.
think it maybe a spouse, but there
Right.
wasn't enough room. I mean, 660 people. That there wasn't a big theatre,
Yeah.
right?
So Esther is presenting this
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
You bring him in
I
to
think
this.
yes, I have to look after him again, and this time, right? He mustn't be anywhere near. In fact, I think that I might even have had to take him to makeup in White City rather than there. I know that it was,
Just
I had
keep him
it
away.
was
Just
yeah.
keep him
I mean,
away.
it was because this one, the first one was pretty easy. It's just taking this old man around and chatting. But now I knew that he was going to meet the children he saved.
So
Whoa,
he
it
so he's
was
sitting in
hard.
the front row with
Yeah,
surrounded by people that he at
yeah.
that point did
Yeah,
not
no, I
know.
just thought they were the audience.
And
And
Esther delivered
Esther,
that
I think, yeah,
immortal
but I
line.
think
Can I ask, is there anyone in our audience tonight who owes their life to Nicholas Winton? If so, could you stand up, please?
we were all sobbing.
It was amazing. I mean, when we saw the film, I mean, Anthony Hopkins played it so
Oh,
beautifully.
you know what was so amazing about Anthony Hopkins was that he was more like Nicholas than Nicky, we used to call him, than Nicky was himself. In fact, it was really quite startling because we thought Nicky had come alive again.
Can I ask, is there anyone in the audience tonight who owes their life to Nicholas Winton?
He got him, and it was absolute travesty of justice that he wasn't nominated.
Yes.
Absolutely I think actors who could be so lifelike, like the guy who played Elvis, or people who recreate dead people. I mean, it's just an extraordinary talent, and he did, and he just blown away. He couldn't digest it.
Yeah.
And of course, as you saw in the film, he did get very depressed about, the
Those
one.
he could not save.
Anyway, it was a moment. It was a moment in television history. It was a moment in wartime history, British wartime history. It was a moment in Jewish history. It was it was so many moments. It was a moment in that's life. As I said, this was a very, very unusual story for us to do.
I feel perhaps that I should have given you a public warning that some of the scenes shown may upset you. But let me assure you that the next episode, number 3, is on a much lighter note, and it tells the story of coincidence, of how Nicholas Winton's story became a film, One Life. I hope you enjoy it.